So this is the instructions that you get from Wadhams. It's good. I mean, it does give a lot of information, although literally it can be a bit scary when you look at it. But what it does is it shows you the profiles of for both doors. This is a total of 5 different profiles that you're supplied. For the rear door, you're only using 3 profiles. You're using some mainly E for the door itself, a bit of B along the front leading edge of the door, and then A, which is for the top part of the frame and the front of the frame there, but you have to have a join in that at this top corner. So there's basically 1, 2, 3 separate profiles that you use for the rear door. For the front door, you've got 4 profiles, and it is a bit more complex, so I'm going to do a separate video for the front door as well. It's very good because it shows you how each profile should sit on the door, which isn't always intuitive, so you kind of want to have a look at that as well. It also explains how you need to be able to, when you do a join between 2 different sections, how you effectively pinch together. So where you have these 2 sections coming together, you want to try and get a nice clean join between the 2. So it's how do you do that, which, you know, on the rear door isn't so bad because these do actually have a pretty close match. That will, when it's fitted to the door, that will sit like that, so you just have to sort of manipulate it up and then use a bit of super glue to pinch them together. So yeah, so there's you know, the instructions are good. They do require a little bit of concentration, and you just need to work out and prepare yourself. So from a point of view of what materials I found work best, I'm using you need a good knife and another longer blade. Then as far as glue's concerned, I'm using 2 glues. I'm using this Scotch Weld, which is a high performance rubber gasket adhesive. You can use this without having to sort of apply it and wait for it to dry like with Evo stick. You can just literally stick this on, and then it doesn't take long for it to achieve a sort of tack and hold things in place until you can close the door. And then the idea being that once you've got it all in place, you can close the door, leave it for a few hours, and it'll actually help everything adhere properly. That's what I found anyway. I've also got here is some cyanacrylite, but it's a black elastic version of cyanacrylite, so it's got some elasticity to it. The cyanacrylite can be very brittle, and this is what you're going to use primarily to join the ends of the different profiles together. So this, I think, is a good one. You can get this on Amazon, and it does a very good job. Bit of sandpaper, that's just for sanding the surfaces of the rubber that I'm going to be gluing, because this rubber, just to give it a little bit of an abrasion, just to help the mechanical key for the glue. So that's just some 150 grit, but anything around that would do. Some acetone to wipe things down, so once you've sanded, use a bit of acetone to wipe off, and again that will remove any grease or any oils that are going to prevent the glue from taking on. And finally a little bit of this 3-in-1 silicone, clear silicone spray. Is useful stuff, and all I do with that is specifically that is for this seal where it goes into the top door, because it has it goes over a lip or channel in the door frame. You don't need to glue this, it will just go in, and the best way I found of doing it was a combination of a bit of silicone spray, and I also use one of these sort of flat sort of chisel type things, but just with a nice sort of soft edge on it, so that you can just kind of help manipulate things into the groove in the door to get the seals to seat properly on the top part of the door. Okay, so that's basically all of it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the main door seal. There's 2 parts to this on the rear door. Part E, so this is like a sort of semicircular profile with a hole down the middle. It means it's very pliant and forms easily when you close the doors. And then you've got this along the leading edge of the door, just one short section of profile F, which then joins to E at the bottom leading corner of the door. So those are the 2 profiles that you start with, and I'm going to start with just E and put that in place. So let's move over to the door and take a look at that. Right, so this door's just been hung. Obviously I'm in the middle of a restoration, so everything's kind of ready to go on this. I haven't had to do too much sort of preparation today. I've already done all of that. The doors have been painted. I did have to remove the old seals from here and down the front. Unfortunately, I think at some point somebody glued them in, so they were a bit tougher to get all the remaining bits of seal. And specifically, you want to get into the channel where the new seal will want to locate underneath this lip here. So I used a combination of various different picks just to get in there and sort of twist it in and actually remove any remaining bits of rolled rubber, dried up seal, and any glue specifically around here where it was really glued in. So I've got a nice clean channel that I can then feed the new seal into. So that's very important. You want to make sure you've cleaned everything down, ready to go. What I'm also going to do is get this bit of Scotch-Brite and just go around, because obviously I've just had the car sprayed, so I'm just going to go around into the channel where the seal will sit, which comes down here and then follows down here, and I'm going to give that a bit of Scotch-Briting and along the bottom as well, where the channel runs along the bottom of the door. So I'm going to Scotch-Brite that to help the glue take and to give it the best chance of sticking all the way up to here, which is basically where roughly in this area here is where you do the join between this profile coming down and the profile that comes on down to here. They're two very different profiles, so it's an interesting one to try and get something that looks sort of relatively good. But yeah, I'll show you how I did that when I join those in a bit. So I'm going to start with this bit of section that runs all the way down here, all the way down there, and all the way along here to that point there, where it joins section F, which then comes up here. So that's what I'm going to focus on first. And I'm just going to Scotch-Brite the door and get that ready, and then I'll bring you back on. Right, okay, so I've got a layer of glue spread around up until this corner, which is where the seals switch to the other profile at the front edge of the door. So I've just put the glue up to there. The seals are too long, so you can cut them down to length, but I'm going to leave probably sort of maybe an inch just poking out the top here, and then I'll just cut this straight across at the bottom here, so that then is ready to join on to the next stage. The glue I'm using, this Scotch Weld, is similar to Evo Stick, but I think it's a lot better personally. I have used Evo Stick, and you get this impact adhesive, and I just find it doesn't sort of hold on that well. This glue, you can either use it wet, so you can literally just stick it straight on, or you can give it a few minutes just to get tacky, which is what I'm doing on this. So what I've done is, you don't have to apply it to both surfaces, but I have done. So I've just again put a little thin layer of glue on the actual seal itself, or the bottom face of it, where it seals against the door. So what I'm going to do now is give it a couple of minutes, and then we'll stick that on. Okay, so we've now got the seal here. So what it does is it goes this way, so the D is actually like that, and I'm just going to start at the top here and just try and squeeze it in between, so you get it sort of pinched in there like that, and then push it, get it up into the curve there. Make sure you don't pull it tight and pull it away. You kind of want it to. This is where actually another useful tip would be to have a couple of these on hand. One here. So these clamps you can buy boxes of, quite useful. Oh, this is going to fit over here, I don't know. Just really to hold it in place while you're getting everything lined up. It doesn't matter if it squishes it down a bit there. No, that's not going to work. There you go. It's a bit easier without the actual foot on it. So that can just hold it in place at the door there. And then carry on pushing this down into the channel as you go down. Right, now we come around this bend. This is sticking straight away, so it's important to get it right first time. I mean, you can put it away and add a bit more glue if you need to, but what you do want to do is make sure that you've got it squeezed into the channel rather than just being sort of half stuck. So this is where the old plastic sort of spudger tool, or whatever you want to call it, comes into play, just down the edges there, just to help push it in. Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm going to keep going now, down to the bottom of the door. So it's going to come along the bottom here. So you've got a nice well-defined sort of U channel along the bottom edge of the door here, so just make sure you get it in there and not half in there, if you see what I mean. You want to get the whole bottom face of the seal right in to that channel. All the way along. And then we'll go back along now with the spudger, the plastic tool. Let's just make sure along the bottom and the top that you've got the whole seal into the channel, and that the glue is going to be fully contacted. Do find it tends to sit above it, so you just get the tool and just push down on the side and just push it right into that channel. There you go. That's all down there, good along the bottom, same along the top. It looks pretty good, but I'm just going to go along anyway. There you go. Alright, so there you go. So that's the first seal in place, and that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this seal here just before it starts to curve up the door, so that the next piece of seal will join this and then go around the curve up to the top where it joins with the actual window frame. But yeah, that's good, and this glue is definitely much better than Evo Stick, I will say that. Without a doubt, it is much better. So I'm just going to go and get a knife. So when you're cutting the seals, it's important just to use, don't put too much pressure on or you deform them as you cut them. If you've got a nice really sharp knife, actually what I will just double check before I do that, but I'm sure it is the case. Yeah, we've got plenty of this one. So this one will then join on from here and go all the way round and up to the top. But it does actually look like there's going to be a little bit less than I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to continue up round that bend with that one. I can always cut it back if I need to, but I think it's safer to bet to. I've already covered all of the sealing glue, so I'm just going to continue this up and around the bend. It might actually be easier to do the join above the bend anyway. You get the glue right in there up to about here, and then you can just peel back any we don't use. Right, there you go. So we are going to keep going around the bend, even though the instructions do actually show this being the point where you join the two, but I'm going to keep going. And I guess one of the reasons, you can see how this seal's deforming a little bit there. It's fine, just push it all in, and once it all settles down it'll be fine. Okay, there you go. So I've now pushed that all in,
got it all glued up. If you get a little bit of glue on top, just rub it off with your fingers, it'll soon pop off. Right, so that's now in place. I'm going to cut back a little bit of that and then do the join, but I just want to check and see how far up I want to do this. So it's a good idea to leave a little bit of excess because it's easy enough to cut it away afterwards. Just keep pushing it on as you go around and make sure you've got a really good fix between the glue and the seal. There you go. Okay, so that's the first stage, and that's going to be looking, that looks good. And in fact, at this point, you can almost do a bit of a test drive on the door, see how that closes. Leave it maybe closed for a minute with the seal on, so that helps to sort of bed the seal in. I'm just going to take that off there. Make sure nothing's in the way. There you go. Right, so I'm going to leave that for a minute just to sort of let the glue go off, with that all being pushed on by the fact it's now closed tight against the door. And at this point I'm also going to get a light and check around just to see that I can make sure that things are sealing and there's no big gaps or anything between the seal and the door. So we shall have a good look around, make sure we've got a good seal. Here with this corner, I've actually stretched it a bit because it was kind of folding out a bit here and catching as we closed it. The answer to that is just to pull it a bit tight. I'm just put some more glue in there, which is why it's showing like that at the moment, because the glue's coming away a bit. But I've put some more glue in there. I'm waiting for that to get a bit tacky, and then I'm just going to push it in at the same time, just giving it a little tweak to pull it, and that then actually pulls it in, so that, you know, it gets nice, it closes much more cleanly then. So so yeah, just a little note there. So just holding that corner in place now while it glues with a few of these little clamps. They're really good. They don't damage your paintwork either, so you can just sort of clamp them on. Otherwise, this is all now glued in place. And I mean, this glue's gone off pretty quickly. I mean, yeah, if I needed to, I could pull it away, but I don't need to, so I'm not going to. But it is now glued in place, so you can carry on working on to the next stage. So I'm just going to give this a couple more minutes to glue up, and then I'm going to move on to the next stage, which will be this front section up here, and then we move on to the fun bit, which is obviously this top bit here as well. So yeah, be back to that in a minute. Right, so I just thought I'd do a little bit on the table here, just because it's a bit easier to show you. This is quite an important thing, and you know, you do this in a few different places where you join the seals together, because you've got two very different profiles that have to go together. So this has to go lead on from that. So this is the profile that goes around the window frame, front and back, and on the rear it joins directly to this. So you can see the profile of that, and you can see the profile of that. Now what I do is I make sure I've got this all the right way around. Yeah. So if you can imagine, this is the front of the door coming down here. Just get a pen. So you've got the top of the door frame here. Yeah, you've got your 45-degree join here between, on this, just this seal here comes across, and then you've got a 45-degree join front of the door frame, and then you've got the front of the actual door itself here. Yeah. Okay. So your join is roughly going to be here. And basically this piece that comes down here is going to sit in the frame like that. So it's going to be like that as it comes down the frame. This then goes under the lip on the stainless steel window frame. So that's going to sit like that. Oh, sorry. And then this continues down the door, and again, if you look at the picture from Wadhams, it sits like that. So this sort of leans, this piece, the top of this goes forwards away, you know, towards the front of the car. So that is then going to join that like that. Now, as you can see, when you put the two together, they don't exactly sit well, but it is very easy to manipulate these into place and just to glue them in place. So the way I do this, and I do this on the car, but it's easy enough to do it off the car. In this case, actually, it might even be better to do that. is I use a little bit of this black acrylite elastic adhesive. And what I'm going to do is just put a little dot of this along the bottom edge to get the bottom edge glued first. So I'm just going to, this is almost instant, so you just literally put a bit along the bottom edge and then you just join the two together along the bottom there. I'm going to do it on top of that knife blade so it doesn't stick to the paper below it. So you just push those two together like that and let the bottom edge glue, and then we can sort of shape and squeeze the two together, and you can get pretty good transition between the two that way. So that's going to take a couple of minutes to go off, so I'm just going to hold it in place, push together. It's already pretty much there, so that's holding in place now. Then I'm just going to apply glue now on one side up the rest of the seal up to the tip, and then basically you just kind of massage the two together. I've got a little bit too much glue there. I'm going to wipe some of that away because I don't want loads. There you go. So I'm now pushing that together. I'm going to squeeze in those two ridges on the side and just push all that into place and hold it there. So the two now joined together, and relatively speaking they kind of follow each other's profiles. So I'm going to give that a couple of minutes now to set, and then we can start to look at how we get that onto the door. I've got the two pieces that are joined together. That's now strong. It only takes a couple of minutes with acrylite, so it's nice and easy to get it done and you can move on. So this profile here is what goes up the front of the frame, and on the instructions that is called profile. This is all profile A. So profile A is what goes up the front, 45-degree sort of join it here, and then it follows all the way along the back, and then we have to join it to this at the back. So I'm going to decide how I'm going to do that when I get there. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut it off the car to the right length. Now I quite like bringing the join slightly down below where they show on the instructions, so I'm going to aim to put the join for this about here, just to sort of take it away from that point of the door. Plus it also gets slightly hidden by the door capping going in and everything. So I'm just going to cut this to length so that it ends up about here with a 45-degree angle cut onto the end of it there. So I'm just going to do that, and I'll come back to you in a sec. So I've marked this with a bit of black marker pen just where I'm going to cut it. So this is going to be at the top corner, so I need to have a 45-degree angle going in that direction. Oh, there you go. Right, so I've cut that 45-degree angle there. Now what I've then got is this is now going to join. If you imagine that's going to be at the top here of the window frame, then this is going to join on. At the moment, obviously, I've got the wrong angle on that. So what I'm going to do is then cut the opposing 45-degree angle on the end of this. It's just started pouring with rain. There you go. So I've got my angles cut. So now when I come to join these, yeah, you kind of just pull them together like that, and as you can see, even if it's not perfect, it doesn't really matter, because you can just literally pull them together and pinch them together with the glue and get a reasonably good join there. So that's fine. I mean, I could potentially cut a little bit more off that at an angle, but I'm happy with that. I'll be able to make that work. The join that I just did is nice and strong, so you can see actually, I mean, look, if I tried to pull that apart, I'd probably tear the material before I actually pulled the glue joint apart. So that's working fine. So now we can move on to the car and fit this first piece. For getting this in is you effectively work in sort of piece at a time and just push out open the seal up, push it down the back there. Once it's pushed down, then you get the tool down the back of the seal against the frame and just push gently into that, and what that'll do is kind of push it round and into that front channel. So you push down and to push around like that, so then you get another section done. You just kind of work your way down into 2 inches at a time, and it'll all go in. Right, so I've got this in all the way down now. I actually pulled it up a little bit. I'm going to just recut it at 45 degrees there. I wanted to get the join right here where the bottom of the stainless meets the door effectively, because I think that's probably the best place for it. So that's now all in place. Then I'm going to cut this, and then we can then look at putting this next piece in here. Right, so I just thought I'd show you, got a better angle here and also a bit more light.
add some more light to the equation here. How's that? Right, well, hopefully we can see this now. So just to show you how, so the first thing, just go over again, getting this into the channel, yeah. So first things first, you need to make sure this channel is really clean, including hooking around and getting the piece under here, under this lip. Make sure there's no other glue or gunk in there because you'll struggle. And it's really a case of just opening up the channel, opening up the seal, yeah. And you've got this bit here, so open that up, push it into the gap, okay, and at this point you've gone halfway, so you've basically got to now turn it almost 90 degrees. So you go along, just doing this, hold it in place with your thumb, and as you can see, the seal is kind of just hooked in there, but it's not at the right angle. And this is where the silicone spray comes into play, because without the silicone spray I find it very difficult to do this. So there you go, there's a section that you've done, so that's all in place. Now all you do is you get this down here and you do that. As soon as you do that, you're pushing the edge of the seal into that front channel. See? There you go, nice and clean, easy. We've got the seal in now all the way down to here. I'm going to then join it to this here, but before I do that I'm going to do this join here. So this is where they meet at the top here. This is a fairly easy one. Again, using the cyanacrylite, you're just pinching the two together and getting a decent join there, yeah. So let's get them sort of pinched up a bit closer, and then I'm going to go and get some cyanacrylite, and I'm just going to put a little dot here to start with and do it in a couple of stages just to sort of get it in place at the back. Then I'll finish it off with a bit more across the front and then just pinch it together. Difficult for me to film that and show you at the same time, but I will try. Okay, not a bad angle. Right, so just get a little bit of the cyanacrylite glue, and you're just putting, I'm just going to put a little dot here to start with and just join those two corners, and it is just a small dot, that's all you need. This stuff is very quick to go off. So all I'm going to do now is just push these two together and just join that corner at the bottom there together. Try not to glue my fingers to it at the same time. So there you go, so just hold that in place for a minute. Not quite there yet. Okay, so those are joined. So then what I'm going to do is just get a little bit more into the actual joint itself, so a bit more on this face here. Just make sure you get the sort of tips of it really, and then just spread a little bit around. Just don't go mad because it'll all go everywhere otherwise. And then you just gently massage it so that the tips join there and there, and then just hold it, pinch it and hold it. There you go. Now that it's kind of all holding in place again, just sort of push it together gently. You might squeeze out a little bit of excess glue, so just move that out of the way with your finger. Just massage it and pinch it into place. There we go. A little bit there, just hold that in place for a sec. Alright, there you go. So that is now nice and clean, and yes, you can see a joint, but it's okay. I'll turn you around so you can have a look at the other side. There you go, that's what you're trying to achieve. Okay, and again, that's gone off quickly. It only takes seconds really.
so makes it really good for the job. And then you can just keep sort of just pinching it, but it's fine. That's pretty much gone now, so I'll leave that and move on to the slightly more challenging joint, which is connecting two sections together which really don't have much in common, but it's fine. Let's have a look at that. Obviously got to cut this down to length. I'm going to try line up the joint with the bottom of the stainless steel on this one as well. Okay, so this next section, joining those two pieces, I've cut them both to length, and you're going to basically, I'm going to follow the same process I did for the other one I did on the table when I showed you the joining of the section B to section A. So now what we're doing is, effectively, we've got two pieces which are quite different, but what I'm going to do is do the base first. So literally just pull the bases together like that, and then once I've done that, I'm just going to then put some more glue in and just kind of pinch it together, trying to get the tip of each to match up as much as possible. That's kind of the main two bits that you want to focus on, is the base and the tip, and then the rest will go together as you can best do it. So I'm just going to start by putting a bead of super glue across here, like that, and then I'm just going to get those two to sort of start sticking together there like that. You've got about 10 seconds to position things here, and then you're pretty much committed. I mean, if you do muck it up, it's not the end of the world, because you can just, you know, stretch it together. It does go. You can sort of use the cyanacrylite to hold it and pinch it into place. And hold together. Oh, there you go. Remove my finger from the equation. So they're now stuck at the bottom. So now what I'm going to do is just put a little thin bit of this cyanacrylite around this D section. And then it's going to be a case of just pinching that together and just trying to get that tip to match there and hold that in place. Okay. Right, there you go. Happy with that. So, yes, there's a little bit of a step there where there's this very different sort of profile, but the tips line up. It's close enough. And then that can be, I'm going to put some more of the Scotch weld in place now to then glue these two bits to the door, or certainly this bit here. Right, so on the final stretch now, so all I've got to do is glue this in here and then pinch that together with that seal there. So that's actually a fairly easy bit, so I'm not going to film it in detail, but I'm just going to get this glued in and then cyanacrylite, pinch that together. These two profiles do go together quite well because they're very similar, so just get those two pinched together, and then we're done. So we can do a test close, but yeah, pretty happy with the way it's all come together. The joins are pretty good. Obviously you could always try and improve on them, but I'm pretty happy with them. And where that join is there will be obviously covered over, enlarged by the wooden door capping, so you're not going to really see that very easily anyway. So yeah, so I'm just going to glue this in and then we can have a look at the final result. Right, so that's all done now. Happy with the joins. Everything's sort of stuck on quite nicely. Obviously I've glued this front piece in now, which I'd already joined on the table, so that's all good. And that comes down here, joins there, comes around the corner. So everything's on. Now is time to give it a go. So looking for a nice solid thunk. Door was adjusted beforehand, so hopefully, there you go. Now, I mean, what I will say is the seal has probably, no, it hasn't really pushed out the top of the door. That's fine.
I've obviously fitted my doors, having done a full restoration and replaced the sills and everything else. I made all the doors fit properly and hinges adjusted and everything else. If you're working on a car where that doesn't work very well and you've got bad door gaps and the doors are out at the bottom and in at the top and all this, you are going to struggle with seals. But it's more a case of it's worth investing some time trying to sort of, shim the doors and get them as accurately, as good and square as possible before you do the door seals. And also one thing I forgot to mention, so that's all done. Then there's also one more piece to go, which you get with the Wadhams kits. You get it with the other kits available, and that is this trim piece here, which is cut to size, so you just literally self-adhesive backing on it. I think some people don't fit this because apparently it can be a water trap, and this is obviously how it was originally. There would have been a piece of ribbon here. However, don't forget this is a modern closed cell foam, I think, so you shouldn't be having a problem there, and in fact it almost holds itself in place. So what I'll do is I'll just close the door with that fitted, just to see if that causes any obstructions, but I think it looks a lot better with that, so I will be fitting it. And obviously, I've done all of everything's been undercoated and epoxied and primered and everything else, so I'm not too concerned about a bit of damp in there. So I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to glue that in place yet. I'm just going to leave it there. Leave everything closed, let it settle, and obviously with use as well, the seals will start to relax a bit, and you should find it not too bad. But I'm being quite careful not to slam the door too hard, but that is a nice solid thunk. I'll show you what I've done on the other side so you can see. Still going to fit the frame on this one, but the base seal is on. But so this is the driver's door that's all finished. Once you've got all the weight in the door and everything's fitted, that helps with the closing of it. But again, it's a similar idea. You've got a different profile here, but I am going to do another video just for the fronts because they are a little bit different. You have got a couple of different profiles there. So yeah, but as far as the door closing is concerned, you want it to be nice and solid, and having those on, the seals on, does make that happen. So yeah, very happy with that, and yeah, very happy with the back as well. I think that now is good. Looks good. Everything lines up. Very happy with that.